Good afternoon, everyone. As we close out the final week of Women's History Month, I want to welcome you all to the Department of Public Works' fourth annual Dynamic Phenomenal Women Speaker Series. I am Randy Thorpe, DPW's Community Relations Specialist, and I'll be facilitating today's chat, which will be recorded and available immediately following. Also facilitating will be O'Neill Singleton, DPW's Public Affairs Specialist and Employee Engagement Coordinator, who will be monitoring the chat for some questions that we hope to have time for at the end.
And I'm Nancy Lyons, the Public Information Officer for the Department of Public Works. I'll be serving as today's moderator, and I really appreciate all of you for joining us today. Today, we're going to focus on something that most of us either think about constantly or not enough: wellness and preventive care. I know these are broad terms, but for the purposes of today's chat, we're talking about the mind body connection with a significant focus on stress and ways to control it. Preventive care is an important topic for all of our employees because working for a critical operations agency like DPW, especially if you're on the front lines, can be a high pressure job. We're responsible for functions that literally keep the city going. Now, while some of us here in DC government may be engaged with the physical aspects of the job, a lot of us are tasked with being seemingly immediately responsive to customer requests and complaints. And all of this can take not only a physical toll, but an emotional one as well. Randy has some statistics for us around stress. Hey, Randy, are you on? You may be on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'll start over. According to the latest statistics, around 120,000 deaths are blamed on work related stress each year in the US. Every day in America, around 1 million employees miss work because of workplace stress. 91% of US workers say having unmanageable workplace stress negatively impacts the quality of their work. 76% of workers in the US report that stress from work affects their personal relationships negatively. 4 out of 5 workers, 80%, report that a change in leadership affects their stress levels. Stress takes a heavy toll on not just employees, but businesses. US businesses lost up to $300 billion annually because of workplace stress and the impact this has on productivity.
Thanks, Randy. And sorry about that, everybody. A lot of us may be surprised to learn that women working in both the US and in Canada are some of the most stressed workers in the world. A workforce report produced by the supplemental insurance provider AFLAC found that 75% of women reported burnout at work as opposed to 58% of men. And I don't think it's hard to figure out why, given the many roles many women juggle on a day-to-day basis. If your role as a woman includes being a mom, a wife, a cook, a housekeeper, etc., you may find that you are constantly putting yourself last on the list of people you're providing care to. And this is why topics like wellness and self-care are so important. We're excited today to be joined by Jennifer Schugam, the Director of Behavioral Health at CareFirst BlueCross BlueShield. At CareFirst, Jennifer drives initiatives to integrate mental health services into the company's broader healthcare offerings, ensuring that members have access to holistic, personal centered care. We're also joined by Megan Reilly, who is the Chief Wellness Officer of the District of Columbia's Department of Human Services. Megan is a certified wellness practitioner and a Reiki master who will not only provide helpful insights, but can also connect us to DCHR programs and services to help us take better care of ourselves at work and beyond. Well, we got a lot of ground to cover, and I want to try to leave as much time at the end for some questions that we invite you all to put in the chat. So let's mute our phones and settle in and have a conversation that I hope can really make a difference in someone's life today. We're going to start with Jennifer. And Jennifer, if you can, if you want to tell us a little bit about your journey in terms of how you came to your current role.
Sure, absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor for me to be here with all of you. My name is Jen Schugam. I'm the director for behavioral health at CareFirst BlueCross BlueShield. I live in Baltimore City, and I am a licensed clinical social worker by profession. So I've been providing direct clinical services in Baltimore since 2001. And in addition to that, in addition to my professional role, I'm also a single parent. I'm a mother of two boys. I have a 20-year-old who is at school, and I have a 17-year-old who lives with me full time. And so in addition to being a behavioral health clinician, I'm also a mom and a community member. And I work really hard, and I am no stranger to understanding about stress and wellness. It's something that I, as a professional and as a person, have to work on every day myself. So it's an honor for me to be here to talk to you all. And I'm looking forward to sharing some information. Hopefully it will help. And when I was thinking about when I was invited to participate, I do a lot of work with clinicians on stress, people that are frontline workers, and their job is to help to provide service to folks. And so that's not terribly unlike what we're talking about today. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about are some of the data about what the symptoms are, but really what I want to do is when we finish today, I want you to have some tools and a really good understanding. Maybe you can self-identify with some of the things that you're working with and managing for yourself that would be helpful. So that's why I'm here today. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. We also have Megan Reilly, she's the Chief Wellness Officer of the DC Human Resources Agency. And Megan, the great thing about DCHR is they offer so many programs that a lot of us don't even realize that are here for us to connect to. So Megan, thank you for joining us, and tell us a little bit about your background.
Thanks, Nancy. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so excited to be here and to talk wellness. I started out after I graduated from University of Maryland with kinesiology as a fitness specialist over at FDA White Oak. And there I saw at the fitness center how these busy employees would come for their workout. I launched a brown bag series there on different topics. And I just got to see how happy people came when they were going on their breaks, how much well-being meant to them during their busy work life, trying to find that work-life balance. Then from there, I was able to go to different government agencies. And so I got to DEA, Ronald Reagan, NASA, and I got to see that at each agency, there's different needs. There's different people, employee needs, there's different cultures. I got to see what works, what doesn't. And so I was so blessed to have this role here now at DC government and Department of Human Resources, because we have such a thriving wellness program that I walked into. There's district wellness leaders at each of our agencies covering those different needs. And we come together once a month and we make sure that we are motivated and we're sharing what needs to be shared, and we're bringing joy to people's work days. So I love what I do. I'm so grateful to be here, and let's get into it.
Awesome. As Chief Wellness Officer, what is your objective for employees?
Yeah, I would piggyback on what we've been saying, Jennifer and Nancy, access to resources. So oftentimes there are tools to help. It's just a matter of in educating the employee where it is. So my goal is that every DC employee would know, what can I do for wellness by working with DC government? What is DC government sharing for me? Because our program's so amazing. What can I tap into? Two would be so that they feel empowered. Connection is huge. One of my objectives is to help connect our agencies. So we do that with our spring challenge, our quarterly challenges. How can we connect not just with our own agencies, but with colleagues from others? Because I know a lot of us too have journeyed from one agency to another, and you still want to keep some of those relationships and connections sometimes. And it just helps connection. And then finally, joy and happiness. Well-being should be something that you can bring to work and you can find at work, and it can be simple and it can really make a meaningful impact to your whole life. So
Yeah.
those would be some of my objectives.
Megan, what do you think are some of the health areas that most people tend to overlook, and things that we should be doing to stay on top of our health game, so to speak?
Two that came to mind, two areas I think, are hydration and sleep. These are two habits that can often be put on the back burner or overlooked, when the truth is they actually have a lot of impact on the way we think, our cognitive function, our mood. So those two, sleep and water, and it varies for each person. You'll see recommendations, of course, how much you need, but I would definitely recommend reaching out to your specific health plan, talking to your doctor, even scheduling some free health coaching, and bring those topics up if you're struggling with those as well. I know I am, with my sleep, of course, getting those habits down, because when you change those two, those are great solid foundations to the rest of your habits.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about it is those are the two things that should come most natural to us, sleeping and drinking water. I mean, we're made of water. So you would think that those would be things that we wouldn't overlook, but we tend to neglect that often. So I'm not surprised. What role does DCHR preventive care initiatives play in, or what role do you want them to play in our overall well-being? I mean, obviously being healthy and happy, but what role can preventive care overall play in people's well-being? Most people just think about, okay, it's time for my annual physical. You're thinking about, or most people probably think I'm going to the doctor because I have an issue. But when we talk about preventive care, a lot of people don't think about the things that they can do beforehand that can keep them healthy. What role does preventive care play?
It's huge. I love this question, and I think prevention and proactive is the way to go. Thinking like, how can I monitor my own health in a way that is fun, not mundane, so that I can catch something early. Okay. You don't have to be this perfect, obsessed, I know data every single day. But if you have a general idea, okay, on Wednesday, you checked your blood pressure. It was higher than the other day you checked it. Okay, what was going on Wednesday? Did you have more meetings? Did you have stress at home? You can better evaluate what's going on from a holistic perspective. And then you can take that data, that information, that insight, and bring it to your doctor and catch things early. As we all, I think, understand, it's so much better to prevent. Preventative care is catching anything early and not having it at all, right? Like we can strive for that.
That makes me think, when you talk about, okay, what's going on today? Why is my pressure different today as opposed to yesterday? What did I do? Also, I guess maybe what did I eat? I mean, how important are keeping food journals? Is that something that you'd recommend?
They are. Yeah, I would say like tracking is personal to each person, but it definitely gives you insight on your moods too, emotional eating, right? Like what was going on this week. But again, I'm one that I like to try things in moderation, see how they work for me. So tracking has worked and helped me understand myself a little bit. And other people, like, yes, they like to track almost everything, and they know their rhythms too, and they know what weeks they might be more hungry and vice versa. So yeah, I do think it has value to it, tracking in your own way, journaling or using an app you like.
Okay. Jennifer, you have a lot of experience working with people who may be going through emotional crisis. What are some types of stress that folks in frontline operations positions, which you've worked with, particularly those who may come into frequent contact with the public? What are some types of some things that they may be experiencing? And when I say people coming into contact with the public, I mean people who may be getting frequently yelled at by the public.
Yeah, I get it. It's a great question. Actually, when I was thinking about what we would talk about today, I was looking at, what is the definition of service? And it is an action of helping. That is the definition. It's the action of helping or doing work for someone. And so when you're in a position where you are working with the public, particularly in frontline operations, you really don't have control over what you're going to be working on and when and with whom. And so when you're working with the public, people are going to come to you with all kinds of situations and issues that they need, but they're also coming to you with where they are as a human being at that particular time. And so I think about I think about when I've gone to the store, and let's say I'm trying to get something and they don't have what I want, and I've had a really hard day and I'm tired and maybe I didn't sleep right and I'm in a hurry and maybe I'm in a bad mood. That can affect how, if I'm not mindful, that can affect how I carry myself as a person. And so I think for a lot of our frontline workers, you really get a lot of that coming at you sometimes where people are. And so one of the things that we can do to really prepare ourselves for that is just to take a couple minutes before we come to work where we're going to be encountering people in the public domain, and really just mentally prepare ourselves that, you know, even if just self-talk can really get you ready to say, okay, I'm getting ready for my shift. I'm going to be dealing with people today, like I do every day. And I just hope that I'm ready. Take a deep breath. And, I'm not going to take this personally. These folks are going to come in at like the way they're going to come in, and I'm going to be open to doing my best. I'm going to do my best job and try to be helpful. Now, that's a good way to prepare yourself, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go great for you. And you can end up having a lot of stress as a result of that, of working with folks. And so some of the things that we see for folks under chronic stress, they have headaches, they experience muscle tension, fatigue, insomnia, or they're sleeping too much. They can have changes in their appetites. They can feel more worried, more irritable, more depressed, feeling overwhelmed. And then sometimes you see that play out in different ways with folks, where sometimes they'll have increased use of alcohol or caffeine or smoking or drugs. And that can be marijuana or something else. And so sometimes when people are experiencing this chronic stress, they're kind of feeling like they need to check out a little bit. And so the first thing is awareness. Awareness is always, really to take that an opportunity to check in with yourself. Take 10 deep breaths. Do a body scan where you think in your mind from the top of your head, and you go all the way down your body. You go through your head, your shoulders, your chest, your stomach, your abdomen, your hips, your pelvis, your legs, all the way down into your feet. And you just look and say, where am I carrying this stress? And give yourself an opportunity to just pay attention and to notice that. And that in itself can be really important. 20% of the people that we work with, out of the 100% of the population of folks, only 20% of people meet diagnostic criteria.
That's Friday on
Everyone, make
21st.
sure that you mute your phones, please.
20% of the people that we of the population meet diagnostic criteria for mental illness. So those are people that actually have behaviors, thoughts, and feelings over a period of a particular frequency over time, where they would actually meet a diagnosis for depression or anxiety. But all of us have stress. All of us have wellness, and all of us have to take care of our mental health. There's a clinician out of the University of Pennsylvania. His name is Martin Seligman. And he was big in creating the movement of positive psychology. And this started in the 90s. And there are actually 5 criteria and this is for everybody, whether you meet diagnostic criteria for mental illness or not, that all of us need to do. There are 5 categories that if all of us pay attention and we're mindful and we take action in these particular 5 domains, even if we meet diagnostic criteria for mental illness, we will experience more happiness in our lives. The acronym is PERMA, and there are 5 categories. The first is P, which is positive emotions. These are experiencing joy, gratitude, contentment, doing things where you've experience positive feelings. And that can be as simple as what Megan was talking about, is, journaling and taking account of how you're feeling. The second is engagement, and this is being absorbed in doing activities where you experience a positive state of flow, which means that you're doing something where you're so into it and you're having a good time, you kind of lose track of time and you zone out. So for some people that's dancing, some people it's gardening, some people it's exercising. Whatever it is for you, it's important for you to find something like that and to do it. The third is relationships. These are having strong, meaningful connections with other people. And this is also the antithesis is that if you have negative relationships with people and you need help with that, or relationships that are not good for you, that you seek help to help you make decisions about whether or not you want to continue with those relationships or how to better manage them.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth is meaning. This is having a sense of purpose or belonging or doing something that feels like you're contributing to something that's bigger than you. So it could be your community, it could be society at large, it could be an organization, but being involved in something that takes you out of yourself. And then the last thing is having a sense of accomplishment, achieving goals or developing skills or experiencing a sense of learning and developing. So whether it's that, you take a class and you finish it, or, you are working on improving your time for a particular kind of exercise, whatever it is, you learn how to finish making your quilt, you perfect your recipe, whatever it is that you're accomplishing and you're working towards something.
Hey, Nancy.
Okay, we're actually in a virtual chat. That sounds like Octavia. So feel free to settle into the conversation. Thank you for those who are just now joining us. Thank you, Jennifer. We're going to talk a little bit more about tips and advice a little bit later. But what I want to ask you right now is how does stress look different for men and women? And if so, how?
That's a really great question too. It's hard to draw a line. I can speak to yes. we tend to handle things differently. Now these are generalizations, because human beings exist on a continuum. But what we see primarily for women is women tend to experience more worry, more anxiety, and it can be more of a somatic experience. And you have to take into consideration into that also the hormonal stages that women are in. When we're in a reproductive cycle of life, when we have cyclical hormonal fluctuations due to menstruation, that can impact our stress, as well as, when we don't talk about this so much, when women move into the peri or menopausal phase of their lives, there's a tremendous impact of hormones on our stress levels. And as well, for pregnant women, peripartum women, and women that are nursing, it's also important to remember that as well when we're talking about stress. So when we talk about what it looks like for men and women, we always have to remember the biology as part of that. There's implications for men. Sometimes they tend to maybe isolate more, maybe don't want to become as communicative about feelings and stress, and maybe aren't as comfortable because of societal pressures communicating how they feel about stress, for a concern of feeling more vulnerable and what that can feel like for them. So that it's a good call out. A lot of times we see with folks insomnia, we tend to see an increase in alcohol consumption, and really also, and there's literature that has come out that is very it's important for us to look at, but because women are worried about being judged, particularly women that have children, of being a bad parent, they tend to not disclose to their healthcare practitioners really how much, if they are drinking, how much. And the literature now that we're seeing is that people are experiencing more medical issues as a result of substance use, and they're not telling their doctors because of stigma that they're actually using as much as they are. And a lot of times it is to help with stress. And what the literature is also suggesting is that when we turn to drugs and alcohol, and I'm not saying this from a place of judgment at all. I'm just talking about wellness and wanting folks to feel better. When we use alcohol and drugs to self-soothe and manage our stress, we actually see an increase in stress, mood instability, dehydration, negative impacts on sleep. So those things that Megan was talking about with wellness is food, hydration, and rest. Substance use totally makes those things compromised, which in the end, it can give us a short-term relief of stress. Like at the end of the day, I'm just going to have a couple glasses of wine. But if you are not hydrating properly, and that can impact your sleep negatively, like it can help people fall asleep, but then they report that they wake up more during the night and they don't get a good quality rest.
Mm-hmm.
That has a cumulative effect on your stress level over time.
Okay.
So it's important to look at that.
All right. Now, I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I know we've had some people who've joined the chat recently. So I want to make sure that I'm sort of highlighting this area for them as well. Our parking enforcement officers probably have among the toughest jobs of almost any DC government worker. Many of us have received parking tickets at one point or another, or maybe even had our car booted or towed, and I'm sure none of us were happy about it at the time. What are some ways employees can recover emotionally after a tough or aggressive interaction with the public? I mean, this also holds true for our solid waste education and enforcement program staff as well. Anybody who may be in that situation where they may be under sort of verbal attack or maybe feel like they're at threat of physical attack, what are some things that they can sort of emotionally recover in that moment and still be professional?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So the first thing is safety. All of us have, I believe, the right to go to work and to be safe. And so if you're talking with someone who is threatening you or you feel under physical threat, your first priority is to maintain your safety. Whether that means that you need to put some physical distance or if you need to take a pause on that conversation. So I think it's important to say that first and foremost. But if you do have an exchange, and I've been a clinician for a long time, and I've worked with people in the hospital, in crisis situations, and everything else. The most important thing that you can do, and we talk about this a lot with people who are working with folks that are traumatized or have PTSD, is that the best thing you can do for yourself is to maintain your own calm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard when you're talking to somebody, if they're yelling at you or they're upset, is really to imagine for yourself. And I had a professor that taught me this when I was in social work school. She said, put your gold shields on. And I was like, I don't know what that means. She said, imagine from the top of your head that you take a deep breath and you just imagine a golden light coming over top of your entire person and surrounding you. That is a protective force field around you. And having that visualization. Yeah, it's really helpful. And then the second thing that you can do is to take a deep breath. And when you breathe in, breathe all the way down into your feet and feel your feet on the ground. Wiggle your toes in your shoes and feel your feet on the ground and ground yourself. Know that you are connected to the earth, and this earth is bigger than all of us. So you are connecting to the earth and you are taking a deep breath and you are grounding yourself.
I like that. That sounds like something that's probably going to take quite a bit of practice, but I think that's excellent advice. Going to switch over to Megan for a second. Everyone, just make sure you keep your mics muted. Megan, can you give us an overview of the health and wellness programs available for DC government employees, particularly those that may help manage stress?
Sure. I'll start with the 4 challenges throughout the year I did refer to. Those have been so fun. They help focus on your mental, physical, emotional, and even financial health because it's going to help positive behavior change. So we have one actually, little promo here, Spring into Motion. Registration started. You definitely want to join that. They're
Okay.
4 weeks long. And then next is the 3 campaigns. So biometric screening, flu clinic, open enrollment. Those are chances to get free screenings. Again, to go back to knowing those numbers, seeing how your insides are and how you can connect the dots here. Where's the stress coming from? How can I dissect what's going on? And then we have our monthly wellness newsletter, free webinars. So we have Mindful Mondays, Wellbeing Wednesdays. A CFSA employee, Pam, does meditations. You can log in at 11:30 to 12. You don't have to be on video, so you can join her. And then additionally, all of our agencies have wellness leaders you can lean on. And walking too sometimes gets overlooked. Walking is a huge de-stressor. So go on your break and take, well, a lot of you are outside. So take that opportunity, walk, like Jennifer said, sometimes you need to walk away from a situation, right? So walking can help de-stress too in the moment. The breathing techniques, they're very simple and practical. It's just a matter of like doing it, right? Reminding ourselves. I'm like myself too. If I start feeling too much in my head, okay, drop into the body, take a few breaths, and I'm immediately calmer. Breathing is very effective. So I hope that helped.
I did not know that we offered that there was meditation. You said daily?
Mondays and Wednesdays. And
Mondays and Wednesdays.
I'll put the webinar series in the chat.
I love that. Now, I know we're talking a lot about sort of emotions. What about for those of us as we get to thinking about physical, for those folks who may be focusing on weight management, or simply improving their physical fitness? What are some fun and creative ways to make physical fitness a more enjoyable part of our daily life, and how can your agency help with that?
This one's great because this is how I got into wellness too. Like, I don't know if there's others out there that love trying new things and variety. So I would first say be open to trying new formats and techniques. So if you look on also, DC governments get some discounts in nearby. There's like a boxing discount. There's some gym discounts for DPR and the rec centers nearby. So try a new class, try something you've never done before. You will be surprised. You might fall in love with it. You might hate it, but be open to trying new fitness, I would say. And then think of the environment you like. So some of us really love the woods versus the beach. Some like it all. Some like beach, being near the water. So think about that. And then you can add your activity to that. So hiking, being in nature, if you're a woodsy person, maybe aqua aerobics if you love water, seeing what's available there, or hot yoga if you like the heat. And then invite your family, friends, and pets is always great to have that community, that social time, make it fun, not boring.
What's your favorite form of physical fitness?
Oh my gosh, if I had to pick one, I like being in a Zumba class. So yeah, I teach class too. So I love just being in a Zumba class with good music and dancing and stuff. So that would be one. But I like a lot. So yeah, it's hard to narrow. What about you, Nancy?
I love the dancing part. It's just the hair part sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe a challenge for so what to do? I've got to get there early to make sure I can get a spot underneath the fan. So minimizing the sweat. So, sometimes for sisters, it's a little, the physical part's a little bit challenging, but that to me, a great dance class is a great way to get in physical fitness, and it doesn't feel like exercise. You're just having fun. So that's great. And plus music is a mood lifter. So, double the benefit. Yeah. So I just want folks to know, we've invited a couple of DPW employees who aren't healthcare experts like our panelists, but who are deeply committed to holistic care. Leah Rogers and Captoria Kyle, who some of you know, were my guests on a recent episode of DPW's podcast, Inside DPW, where the discussion got pretty personal about work-life stress and some of the ways that we handle it. Captoria is one of our solid waste education and enforcement program inspectors. This is a job where employees are routinely inspecting improperly contained sanitation and issuing violations when necessary. So like our parking enforcement officers, Captoria and her colleagues may come in contact with irate residents. Like Megan, Captoria is also a Reiki practitioner. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. In fact, I want to talk to you, Captoria, and Megan a little bit about your work as Reiki practitioners. First of all, Megan, explain what Reiki is and what it's designed to do.
Sure. Reiki would be categorized as an alternative healing method. And the method started in Japan in the 1900s. And Rei means universal. It's a Japanese word. And ki means vital force energy. So what happens in a session? The practitioner channels that energy to their client using light hand touch. It's widely used in medical facilities, homes, sports teams, many different settings. And the whole idea is to promote physical, mental, and spiritual healing and relaxation.
Hmm. I didn't know that it was used in medical facilities. So that's when I think about holistic care, I don't necessarily think about Western medicine necessarily embracing that. So that's great to know.
Yeah, yes, yeah. They like the hands off, but it's still, and then some nurses are getting trained as it. So there's a ways to go. Yes,
Okay.
it started.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Captoria, how did you start practicing Reiki? And what are some of the reasons people may seek this technique?
Well, I started by me very years ago when my kids were very young. I was a single mom, and I just needed to find a way out of stress and just to get balance and grounding. So I came across this group that I was a part of called the Life Group. It was like a sisters circle, and then we would talk about certain things in that circle, and also we started talking about certain techniques and certain eating habits and giving each other affirmations and things to just actually calm us in those stressful times in our lives. So it came a point in my life where my spiritual journey had started because of being a single mom of 3 children. I needed that outlet. I needed to get back to me. So as that time went on, I started, talking to this lady that was a Reiki practitioner, master, and I told her, I said, I would like to really explore that. And what it did for me, it brought me back to me. It brought me back to who I am. It brought me connected to the divine. And by it doing that, I was able to be more confident in my role as a mother, and more confident even in my job and who I am at work, and know that nothing can stop me but
Okay.
me.
Okay.
Yes.
Leah Rogers is the Chief Performance Officer for DPW's Data Analytics and Research Administration. She's also a small business owner and is dedicated to the practice of aromatherapy, as many of us know if we've been around her space. Leah, well, on the podcast, on DPW's podcast, we talked about why aromatherapy is so important to you. And I'm sure a lot of us want to know how scents can impact our well-being. So tell us a little bit about why it's important to you and what scents may be helpful to people.
Okay, well, let me start with just a little bit of an exercise. If everybody will participate, I know a lot of people are multitasking. This will only take a few seconds, I promise. And it works even if you don't have any oils or candles with you, but it helps to bring home the point that memory lives in your nervous system and your body remembers scent. And so I want us to try to just tap into that. So just take a moment wherever you are, make sure your feet are placed flat on the floor. Let your hands rest in your lap. Close your eyes and just let your breath begin to slow down. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Exhale slowly through your mouth. Do that one more time. And now I want you to bring to mind a scent that brings you peace or power. Maybe it's the smell of clean sheets with whatever laundry detergent you use. Maybe it's lemon in your grandparents' kitchen. Maybe it's vanilla of something baking. Choose a scent and let that scent rise in your awareness. And as you inhale, breathe that in, just as if it's right in front of you. Imagining it filling you with that peace or that power. And with each breath, use that scent to soften your chest. Take your shoulders down from your ears. Relax your jaw. Stop clenching your hands. Slow your thoughts. Let that scent change how your body feels from the inside out. And just stay there for a few breaths. Connect to that scent you've chosen. Notice how you feel. What shifted in your breath, in your mood, in your energy? Now come on back.
So you
Wiggle your
almost had me dozing
fingers.
off over here.
Roll
where
your
I was
shoulders
for a second.
loose. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Now that was probably less than 2 minutes because I don't want to take too much of your time, but I am so tied into the power of aromatherapy that I really believe that you guys felt something shift. Maybe it was your breath, maybe it was your nervous system, and maybe it was just that second of calm that your body needed, right? You didn't even realize you needed that.
Yeah.
What you guys just experienced is the core of the truths of aromatherapy. For me, scent is a doorway. It gives you access to calm, gives you access to clarity, to energy, to presence, to the universe, to your soul source, your North Star. And it doesn't have to happen over a course of a time. I don't know about a lot of you, but if I don't start to see results, I'm kind of like, oh, forget this, right? But this is immediate. Like you guys who felt something felt that in less than 2 minutes. And that's why aromatherapy for me is not just about smelling good, it's about feeling great. And it's about being able to shift your state and be present, like Jennifer and Megan said, any place and any time.
Mm-hmm. I love
And
that.
so that's powerful. And just imagine how much more powerful that is if you really have, I saw Mava said gardenias. Like if you have that in front of you, it's intentional. And that's where the real magic of aromatherapy for me lies. And that's why it's important to me.
I love that. You know, on the podcast, Leah and Captoria and I talked a lot about being present, and that is very important. So thank you for that exercise. And sometimes we just really do have to sort of stop and just sort of realign ourselves, sort of with you know, our inner core, our inner core. Um, we are spiritual beings before we are or before we are anybody else, and just sort of remind us of who we are and where we are in this moment. We get so caught up in our head and the projects that we have going on and deadlines and things like that. But moments like that and the meditation moments that Megan mentioned earlier on Mondays and Wednesdays are a great way to keep us centered. And when we're healthy in mind, where it has a definite impact on our physical health as well. So we've discussed how to recognize and address stress, some great tips and some ways we can be supported. Now let's talk about some actionable steps that we can take right now. Jennifer, what are some practical ways to build? We talked about this. I'm gonna bring this again. Some for those of us who may have joined in late. What are some practical ways to build emotional resilience and in a high pressure environments, and not just the people who are out in the field and dealing with you know, customers or residents, but just people who have who have deadlines every day or juggling
Yeah.
regular jobs. Guys, make sure you mute your phones. What are some
Yeah,
practical ways?
yeah,
Go ahead,
this
go
is
ahead.
everybody, right? I mean,
Mhm.
Nancy, that's exactly. I loved what we just did. I absolutely loved that exercise. And it's a great question. And we all need to do this. The best way to build emotional resiliency is to fill up your reserve tank. My mother calls them energy dollars. Is to save up your energy dollars and to have a nice fat bank account of energy dollars. The
Like that.
more you can invest in yourself, and we do that by what we've talked about, having, whether it's aromatherapy, whether it's we have to exercise. We got to move our bodies. The literature's here. We got to move. We got to eat right. We got to drink our water, and we've got to sleep. Those four things can physically keep you well and keep your energy solid. And when you feel well, you are less reactive and your central nervous system is under less pressure. And so you are able to tolerate pressure better. So the best thing we can do is what our grandparents told us, is to take care of ourselves, get good sleep, eat a proper diet, not too much sugar, really, really be honest with yourself. If you're drinking too much or you're using drugs, that is going to mess with your mood. There are a ton of resources out there. If you're a CareFirst member, on the back of your insurance card is the 800 number for mental health and behavioral health. Call us. We can help you get treatment. We can help connect you to resources if you need that. There are a ton of resources out there also um, through your employer where you can get assistance. That's really the best thing that you
Yeah.
can do, is to make sure that you invest and take good care of yourself, and you will be able to manage your stress better. And always pause and take a deep breath.
Great. Thank you. We're actually heading into our final round of questions for you guys. But before I do that, I want to remind people, if you have any questions for Megan or Jennifer or Leah or Captoria, please put them in the chat, and O'Neill will be looking through the chat and asking them. So before we close out, and before I do get to the questions, I did reference DPW's podcast a couple of times. Randy will mention it as well before we close out. If you are not listening to our agency's podcast, I really implore you to. It is a great way to hear from your colleagues in terms of the work that they do, to hear their expertise, to hear the people behind the work, who they are when they're not at work. We have conversations with folks in other agencies. We have conversations with other experts. It's a 30-minute segment. It's called Inside DPW, the podcast that explains how public works works. You can find it on any of your platforms where you can listen to any podcast, but it does air weekdays at dcradio.gov at 9 a.m. And while the conversation that we had with Leah and Captoria has not yet been uploaded to the cloud, you may catch it on repeats at 9 a.m. at dcradio.gov. But the conversation that I did have with Megan, which was titled, that episode is titled Healthy Year, Healthy You, is uploaded on SoundCloud. All of the episodes are available on SoundCloud. We've taped 26, but I believe you can find 22 right now. And we are taping every month. So please check out the show. And if you have an idea for a podcast, get in touch with me, nancy.lyons at dc.gov. Nancy spelled with a double E instead of a Y. And let me know if you have any ideas for a show concept, and we can work on putting it together. So for the final round of questions, Megan, how can managers and supervisors support the mental health of their teams more effectively?
Drum roll.
Mhm.
I would say the trainings, the mental health first aid training. So we definitely offer 2 per year with one of our contracts, and then another has some free sessions. So it's a 6-hour certification. It's been phenomenal. A lot of our leaders already have it. It gives you the practical tools for how to engage with the employee that's having a situation, the right steps to take, how to refer them to resources, really giving you the checklist you need, because a lot of us didn't just grow up with what to do in those situations. So that training, and that's, yeah, I would say that first
Okay.
and foremost. So look out for one. We offer them a lot, and make sure you get it yourself.
Okay.
We're happy to help set that up.
What are 3 health tips that you would give to exclusively to women?
Yeah, this was also interesting. I do believe too, we all have a lot of similar health conditions too, but as Jennifer spoke on earlier with stress, there are some differences with women and men. So women, the bone health, heart health, and OBGYN, I would say. So for your bone health, you want to make sure you continue strength training into your longevity, long term, right? So even if it's that a little bit of weight bearing exercises with your cardio, that'll keep your bones strong. You want to prevent osteoporosis, and working on calcium and vitamin D with your provider. The heart health continues to be a leading cause of death for women. So, and it's usually shows up differently and more silently, and it's just a different experience for women. So you really want to make sure you're doing all those healthy habits, exercise, balanced diet, and also regularly monitoring that blood pressure and cholesterol. And then the OBGYN checkups, mammograms, just make sure you're staying on track with all your screenings and things like that.
You
For the
know, you
men,
mentioned,
yeah.
okay, yeah, you mentioned heart health. And I know that I've been reading a lot lately about how heart attack can show up differently in men and women. What are 1 or 2 symptoms, heart attack symptoms, that typically are just experienced by women that women might never think would be that?
We'd have to, it's a little out of my scope because I'm not a doctor, but what I do remember is like left shoulder pain.
Yeah, I heard that a
Right.
lot.
So you could just think that's shoulder pain from ergo or your desk or something. And then I believe it's like sweating, fatigue, but yeah, I would,
Yeah,
if there's
okay.
any doctors on the line.
All right. And then what about 3 tips exclusively for men?
So the one that they share with us too is also heart health, right? So we want to make sure they're watching their blood pressure and trying to cut or minimize the smoking, cholesterol checks. All of that will help their heart health as well. And they're, as you probably know, they're all related to each other, right? All these chronic conditions. So when you start to focus on one, if you choose heart health, the others will have a positive ripple effect in a good way.
Okay.
Get their screenings as well. Testosterone levels, colon cancer, prostate exams, and then mental health, all of us, right? But with men too, they can tend to isolate or hide their stress or anxiety. So continue to seek support and breaking that stigma together in the district by calling the number. It's anonymous, setting up a session. The first one might feel funny, but getting that support, talking things through.
Okay. And we talked a little bit earlier about drinking, the importance of drinking water and sleeping. What are additional steps employees can take today to begin building healthier health habits?
Just say simple, pick one habit to start with, and you'll be surprised. When you start tracking that one, let's say it's the water, you're going to feel so good. You're going to continue to see, wow, I drank this much water for 7 days in a row. What's next? And it's going to have this positive ripple effect. So start with one habit you want to focus on, and then it will build. It's called habit stacking, and you'll create, even rituals around it. Maybe every time you go get your water, you do that breathing technique, right? And you do that mindful pep talk before your shift. Wow. Now you have this, you're set. You have this strength within you to handle whatever our district or our people will bring today. So
okay, that's great. I just want to remind everyone that you can go to dchr.dc.gov to find more information about the offerings, the health offerings that the agency has, and also carefirst.com to find out more about CareFirst BlueCross BlueShield. I don't think we have any pressing questions in the chat, but we do have some comments, so we will make sure to follow up for those who are looking for some additional information. We've got about 3 minutes left. If somebody was too shy to type something in the chat and has a question or two that they want to throw out, I'll give you a few seconds, a space to voice any questions. And if not, Randy will close us out. Going once. Any questions from the audience? Going twice. Give you another second to unmute in case you're having some technical difficulties going 3 times. All right, Randy, take us home.
I thought I saw Captoria.
Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Captoria, go ahead. Just go ahead. Sorry about that.
Well, basically, I just wanted to reiterate on it's about stress is the killer. So we have to minimize our stress. And I wanted to piggyback off of Jennifer about the breathing. It is so necessary because that's what will regulate your whole entire body. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Captoria. Again, I want to thank you and Leah for joining us. Thank you, Megan and Jennifer, so much. I appreciated this conversation. Look forward to bringing you all back to another podcast where we can all do another one together. And I'm going to turn this over to Randy to close us out.
Thanks, Nancy. This has been a really great discussion. And thank you for everyone who joined. We look forward to chatting with you again soon. I just want to reiterate our podcast, DPW podcast, Inside DPW. For those who didn't catch it, the podcast explains how public works. So please make sure you tune in into dcradio.gov weekdays at 9 a.m. or search for us in SoundCloud, Spotify, or other platforms where you listen to your podcasts. Additionally, again, if you have any other offerings or information that you would like to find out from DCHR, visit their website at dchr.dc.gov. And for any DPW employees who might want to see more images and video of your team's work, please contact our facilitator, O'Neill Singleton at dc.gov. Again, thank you everyone for joining today's call. Thank you again, Jennifer and Megan, for your time and the great information that you shared with us, as well as Leah and Captoria. Your contributions as well were appreciated. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.